Hey, how are you?
Hello, how are you? I'm good.
Doing well. Where are you at?
Funny story. So this is called my Pogue Cave. You ever heard of the show Outer Banks?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so me and my friend love the show, and so it's just like a room in our house that we have that we call it Pogue Cave.
Well, tell me about you.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. Well, I'm a senior at Northwest and I'm a broadcasting major. So overall, I want to be a news anchor, a field reporter, and to do this for the rest of my life. I absolutely love enjoying interviewing people. I'm 22. I compete in pageants. I do hair and makeup as well.
Oh
And
my
I'm a
gosh.
dance and tumbling instructor. So I have a pretty busy life, but all things that I love to do.
Tell me where home is. Where's home for you?
I'm from Overland Park, Kansas.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Not too far then.
No, not at all. I'm home like every weekend. I just
That's
got
great.
a baby nephew. His name is Kylo, so
Oh,
that's why I'm always home. But I loved it.
oh, that's sweet.
Tell me about you.
Oh gosh. So I grew up in Northwest Missouri. I grew up locally there. My parents actually still live in the area. My dad and mom are retired and live in they actually live in a little co-op, a retirement co-op, just on the north edge of Maryville.
Okay.
And so I grew up there. I went to college at Northwest Missouri State and stayed for my master's degree, and then went to work in student affairs and worked in various positions until, gosh, the last 9 years, almost 9 years, I was a vice president for student affairs.
Okay.
And then went on to St. Louis University, and served as the senior student affairs officer there for almost 14 years. And then made a move to the Pacific Northwest. And so I'm at Gonzaga University now. And this is just in my third year, about halfway through my third year.
Okay. Nice. Well,
Yeah.
I was able to do just kind of a little bit of background on all of you guys, like all of the candidates. So
Sure.
you guys, I was able also to come to the candidate forum, which I was super excited about. I know a lot of people came. I don't know what I expected. I was like, okay, well, hopefully people will come, just to see what's going on. But that was very interesting, good perspective. I wish more students were able to attend the Q&A, but
Yeah, there were, I couldn't tell how many, but it seemed like there were quite a few people. They're
yeah.
kind of spread out, so it's kind of hard to tell.
Uh-huh.
And then, you've got the lights in your face. You know that with pageants, so you know all about that. But yeah, you couldn't really, make out a lot of things, but
yeah,
it did seem well attended. And I guess now you've had three, right? Like three. So maybe
the
just.
second one. Sorry, say it again.
Oh, I said just three candidates now, so one left, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So it's
Things are moving along, I guess,
yeah.
right?
How do you feel? Like, how's everything going on your side? Like planning and just kind of preparing yourself. Like how are you feeling?
I feel good. I mean, I have a very busy job here. I'm the vice provost for student affairs.
Yeah.
So, honestly, back here, I'm very focused on that. I'm really focused on preparing, though, for something like that is, it's challenging when you have full-time responsibilities, and you certainly don't want to neglect those. My commitments to the students here and to the university, but it helped me to have some background, to have some history. So at least I know the area, I know the history of the university, I know the mission of the university because I worked there for almost 17 years.
Yeah.
I was a student, for 4 or 5 years before that. So it helps to have that, where other candidates might have to do a little more work in that regard. But, you still have to, things change. I've been away for 17 years too. So things change. And, the state there's been some changes in the state. There are, new issues that emerge that maybe weren't the same as when I was there. So you still have some preparation, to do. And that's good preparation because it does apply to what you're doing now. I mean, anytime you're being tested and you're challenging yourself to articulate what you think you know, or what you think you're able to offer, or what you think the most important questions are. There's learning in that for you that you can apply in the situation that you happen to be in. So for me, that's here at Gonzaga. Believe it or not, all that preparation also makes me more effective, here in my role. So
I'm sure you're like well-rounded. Like you have to just talk to so many different people. So I'm sure you got it down. Well, I just had a few questions for you.
sure.
Nothing too crazy. I think I got to kind of hear how do I say it? Maybe just like the more technical questions that you got asked. But I kind of just want to get really just your perspective being in this and going through the running for being potential president. So first question that I have, super easy one. What attracted you to Northwest, and why do you feel that you are the best candidate for this position?
Well, I have deep roots there. I think, and you probably experienced this too, is there's something that's really special about the university and the community there. And I don't mean, I mean the way people are connected to each other, and the way that people care for each other, and the care that the university, everybody in the university places, and the priority on students. That's a good fit for me because of the work I do. My life every day, all day is students. And so a big part of it, I think, for me is it is a place that I feel connected to, emotionally connected to, and it is a place that I know very well. So I believe I know what maybe the strengths of the university are, maybe what the university might need at this particular time. And I think it matches well, with my experience and my skill set. I think I'm advantaged in knowing that community and knowing the university. That certainly helps. But my background, in higher education administration has allowed me to work with virtually every aspect of the university. And so my background's pretty broad, and sometimes folks zero in and say, well, you've worked in student affairs, but in student affairs, you touch every area of the university. And some of my work has actually been beyond student affairs. And so I've just been really blessed and fortunate to have a lot of experiences. I also think style, like how you show up, your style, the extent to which yourself. So let's call that maybe emotional intelligence, really matters. And so I think my approach, my style is probably a good fit for that culture. And I say that with the benefit of having worked in that culture for a very long time. So, it's funny how life is, you never imagine that things might come full circle for you, but this feels like a full circle moment.
For sure.
The one thing I would say, and I said it on the stage, is, I love the university too, just like you do. And so regardless, I want the best thing for the university, whatever that is. So I think I have something to offer, but that's for the community to determine. And what I'm, and I'm going to be cheering for Northwest regardless. That's just how it will be. So
once a Bearcat, always a Bearcat. That's
always a Bearcat. That's right.
That is how
so
it works.
true.
Awesome. No, okay. Well, you just kind of mentioned it a little bit yourself, but just seeing those issues, the different issues, being departed from Northwest for such a long time, what do you feel are some of the bigger things that the university needs to focus on, whether that's with their students, faculty, just in general? What do you see as a problem or solutions for that?
Well, it's a students first culture, right? And so what will always come first is educating students and trying to create some futures, building futures. So, but when you look at the enrollment picture in the region, you can see that traditional age college students, those numbers are going to go down because their birth rates were lower during that time, and so there are going to be fewer graduates that fit the kind of traditional profile. So that means that if you're going to continue to maintain your place, you've got to really add value. You've got to be known as an institution that is affordable, that focuses on equity and opportunity for all students, and that you can accommodate those students and help them be successful. That coming there is perhaps not a guarantee, but a pretty close to a guarantee that you're going to graduate and that you're going to be ready for your career or ready for graduate school or whatever comes next for you. So, winning what I said, the value proposition, and really that is just that the value of the education you receive exceeds the price you paid for it. And so cost does matter, but what really matters to all of us is that we get value for something, that it's more important or more valuable to us than what we paid for it monetarily, at least, and maybe in terms of toil and sweat equity too, right? But so continuing to evolve programs, right? Continuing to push innovation, be relevant in fields, think in interdisciplinary ways, those things are all really important. But it's also really important to meet students where they are. And I mean all students. So that means that there are going to be a need to continue to pursue new markets, more adult students, more transfer students, maybe more veterans. Certainly the student population needs to be more diverse and will be more diverse over time in every way, certainly racially and ethnically, but it will be more diverse in every way. And so, that means that the institutions have to adapt, right, to new circumstances. And if you're doing really well with student retention, then you've got to figure out how to be more focused on where are the places where we aren't doing quite as well as we want to. So I'd call it more targeted, right? More focused on who are our students that are most at risk and what are we doing specifically for those students is a really critical question. The other thing I would mention is that everything that the university does also needs to be in service to the region that it serves. It's a regional university. And so, and I don't think that that's divorced from supporting students and helping students be successful, but it does mean that the scholarship and our academic programs and the assets of the university and the people of the university also have to be committed to serving the needs of the region. And I think Northwest has always done a good job of that. And I think there are going to be more opportunities to push that.
That's good. That's really good. I think one of the things, just kind of listening to you and you've been able to say this, that just really sets you apart is you just know so much about Northwest. And I think you just have, there's a love that you have to have for whatever job that you're doing, and I think being able to come from here is really important. I know the Northwest community just at a collegiate level, and then, Maryville in and of itself, I think we're pretty close. Like everybody that is here in Maryville highly associates with the university. And so being able to see that, that, and you're aware of that, I think that is going to help to, set you apart for this running. But
I think it would be really, when we talk about impact of a university, I always think that one of the most interesting and probably revealing things to do would be to sort of go out and map careers, because the real success or impact of a university is in its students and graduates. So what you do, what you go on to do, who you become, and what work you do, how you contribute is the story of the university. So one of the things that I would hope is that we would find ways to get you back to the university, because your story is important and you have a lot to contribute. And if we don't lose sight of that, then I think we'll make the best decisions for the people in the university, that starting with the students, but certainly the faculty and staff, and for the future of the institution, because that really is the best measure of impact.
For sure. Going outside of speaking about the university, this is a fun one. If you could describe yourself in 3 words, what would those 3 words be and why?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. Optimistic. I would say tenacious, or driven maybe. And I would say resilient, that because, all of us experience hard knocks in life, right? But the ability to get up and to come back and to learn from it and recognize that's my story to students all the time is, please don't think of failure as an end point. That failure is often a beginning point. And it's just about learning. That's really all it is that, failing is about learning and getting back up and doing it better the next time.
Mhm.
And, you know, and there's a cycle there. So I think being resilient is really critical. I think being tenacious about something you love, a passion, pursuing a passion, is really, really important. And so those are, you know, some of the ways in which I guess I would describe myself. I think I'm an optimist because I'm an educator, and I believe that what our work is really about is not about solving all the issues necessarily, but it's about taking the gifts that we have and
Mhm.
applying them in ways that create better futures for people.
Good. Those are good. That's a common pageant question that we get a lot.
Do
You
you
know,
really?
yes, you have to describe yourself. When you ask me, tell me about yourself, that's one that you get right off the bat. So this, you did
Okay,
good
so
job.
let's reverse it. What are your three?
Ooh, 3 words. Energetic,
I see that.
bubbly, and caring.
I'd say smart too.
You say so?
I'd say pretty smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you exude those
Thank you.
qualities. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I try and, make life. There's times to be serious, and I think there's times to be fun, and you can't take yourself so seriously in every situation. I think you got to be relatable to a lot of people,
Sure.
and, just try and find conversation with anyone. And the best way to do that is just to be yourself, So
Yeah.
I try and do that. I'm 22 and I'm still learning that. It's hard sometimes, because you have high expectations for yourself, but doing this
Yeah.
and being able to do interviews is very helpful for it. So
Well, you have obviously a bright future. Tell me, how's it been for you at Northwest?
Oh man. Well, my parents went to Northwest, both my mom and dad. So kind of like the same thing, just I've always had a love for the university, always going to football games, just a strong connection. So I knew from I didn't want to go anywhere else. So Northwest was first pick.
So wait a minute, tell me who your parents are.
Kenny and Odester Stokes.
My wife used to work with Odester, and I knew Kenny when I was at the university. So I know your parents.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, good folks. Really good folks.
Thank you. I should people will stop me in Walmart. They're like, you look really familiar. Who are your parents? And then I'll tell them, and then I just think it's really funny.
I see it now. I didn't yeah. So I wondered when I saw your last name, but I wasn't sure. So
yeah, Kenny and Odester. So it's being here, I think it's always been a home for me. Like haven't struggled when it's come to just feeling like that disconnect. Like home and the homesickness and everything like that. Northwest is very comfortable to be. University also is not big. It's the perfect size. So being a media major, being able to do things hands-on freshman year is extremely helpful. So I love Northwest, and I think that it's very fitting for a lot of different degrees and career paths, which is really good to see. Because some schools, obviously education would probably be our niche here, but I think every department, performing arts, media, agriculture, everything, I think is just very well put together. So anyone can come and have a great experience here, I think.
tell me, will you go back to Kansas City, or do you think you'll go wherever?
Well, I do love Kansas City. I think that it's growing and media is pretty big there. But I also want to keep everything open. I think my first year, I'm kind of just like whatever opportunity is open for you, just take it. If that means I'm moving across the country, like I will do it, and I'm open to that. It's terrifying, but that's how you learn. And I know I'll always have a home in Kansas City. So it's just keeping my options open for sure.
Well, I love you're open to it, because like the first step of, what do they say? The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So like sometimes the hardest thing to do is to take the step. Like, even when we came here, so that never changes. So I'm 57 and I had worked in higher education for 34 years. And when we decided to come here, we had never lived anywhere else but the Midwest. And we were going to move to the Pacific Northwest. We didn't know a soul. And so, it is intimidating. It is a little scary to do something like that, but it's always I've always found that every time I've done that, even moving to St. Louis, right? It's always benefited me, you know, and I've always learned a lot. My circle's gotten bigger. And so I always say, be brave, right? Be brave, because the world's a big place out there.
Yeah, it is. But I don't know. I'm just kind of, everyone, my roommate even, she's like, I think I might move to Texas. And I was like, okay, you know, like if that's where you want to go, because she just really likes it. And I feel like when you're young and like, you know, I don't have any kids, I'm not married, so I'm just by myself. So I think it's a lot easier to just be like, okay, go cool, jump and go anywhere. So
Yeah,
we'll see. But I wouldn't mind being in Kansas City. I do still enjoy it. So
it's a good city. Yeah.
Yes.
We've always, my sister lives in the north edge or north end. So, and I've had relatives, you know, my whole life growing up. I had a great uncle that lived off Wyoming, just off the plaza downtown. So yeah, it's always been a place we've loved to go. But I spent most of my, you know, the last several years on the east side in St. Louis, and St. Louis is just really different city than Kansas City, which seems kind of strange, doesn't it? Like you're not same state, but really different vibe there. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It was very different. Well, I've got one more question.
Okay.
Before we go.
All right.
Oh man, I wrote a whole bunch. What's the most important one? Okay, this one's fun, kind of, sort of. So if you were to be the next president of the university, what are your short-term goals? And then what are your long-term goals for Northwest?
Yeah. Well, I mean, short-term, so you sort of think of those first maybe 60, 90, 120 days or whatever is, early on, I think it's about, you know, kind of doing a listening tour to make sure that you have a good understanding as best you can of what the circumstances are. I'd want to look at, you know, everything from enrollment to financial to academic programs. I'd want to meet with students. I'd want to meet with foundation board members. I'd want to meet with trustees, but I'd certainly want to meet with community and with government officials. And so there's a lot of learning to do up front, right? Because you don't want to start to, at least I wouldn't want to start to initiate some kind of a strategy or a long-term plan without making sure that I had a better understanding. And so listening and seeking to understand first, in my view, is really, really important. The other thing it does, it gives you a chance to do is my goals would be, one is establish relationships, which are really critical, because you can't lead an institution like Northwest or any university if you cannot form relationships. Right. You just can't get anything done. So that's an opportunity to really try to form, you know, some relationships. The other is it's also an opportunity for me to float some ideas. So let's call that testing, right? So like to see how people react to some of those ideas, because it's important to do that, right? It's important to see what kind of reactions there might be to certain things. That's very illustrative, right? It tells you a lot. It tells you about where people are at, and you can ask probing questions about why that might be. It gives you a sense of understanding what pathways might be the right pathways, who the champions or early adopters, you know, for something might be. It also gives you a chance to for some give and take, you know, in terms of what, you know, what I see and what you see as what's the reality of this thing that we're seeing from your vantage point, from my vantage point. So early on, those sound pretty basic, but that really, I believe, is really important work, very important formative work. Long term, I think, you know, strategies have to be, I think, measured in terms of real impacts to the region and real impacts to students. And so real impacts to students may be, you know, are we expanding employer relations, and are we evolving academic programs to meet the needs that students have to be ready for the things that they want to be able to do? Are we graduating more students? In other words, are we more successful in helping students matriculate? Are we holding student debt levels down? Are we closing achievement gaps that are very real and that are important for us to deal with? But the impacts in the region could be relative to healthcare disparities, could be relative to economic development, education pipelines, and so forth. So long-term is developing strategies that really allow the university to move from a place of strength to a place of even further success. And so the good news about Northwest is it's not like the university isn't doing well. The universities are already doing well. So it's more about, I think, how do you move to the next level?
Right.
And as I said when I was there, it's like when you have high student success rates, so that would be like retention rates, right? Or persistence rates. To start raising those from a very high level is much harder than moving them from a lower level to where they are now, right? So in other words, the further you get, the harder it is to make the incremental changes and the more focused and evidence-based that you have to be. So broad brush solutions are not as effective at some point because you've kind of maximized that impact. You have to then really drill in and figure out where are the places where you need to tailor support and resources that help a group of students that may not be achieving and matriculating at the same rate that the larger sample of students. So those are the places really to invest in. So I sort of know schematically what that looks like. I don't know what levers yet that we need to pull because I'm not on the ground with people looking at the same data, talking and understanding the legislative landscape or the political landscape. So there's a lot of learning to do. And I think that'd be true for anyone. They're going to come in and there's going to be a pretty intense learning phase in order to be, effective in that role.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me. I appreciate it greatly. I like being able to meet people in person, and so, or not, well, I guess it's not in person, but I can see the face. So, but I wish you all the best of luck and
thank you.
Fun and just keep making those connections and asking the questions. I think that you're on a good path. So I was able to talk to a few people after the forum, and they spoke very highly of you, some of the faculty. So
good. That's nice to hear. Hey, will you tell your mom and dad that Kent and Nicole said hi?
Okay. I will. I just talked to my dad on the phone this morning, so I'll call him and let him know.
You tell him Kent and Nicole said hello. Well, it's been a long time, and so, I mean, it is funny, like, sometimes something has to jog your memory a little bit, but when I saw your last name, I was like, gosh, there's gotta be a connection here, but so they might've known my wife, Nicole, as well as they knew me, but we definitely were stomping around that place at the same time, so.
That's fun. Well, I will call them and let them know that I spoke with you.
Well, they have to be very proud of you. So
yeah, they're great parents. They support me in everything, so that's very helpful for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, you go knock it out of the park, okay?
Right, I will. I appreciate it.
I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
All right. See you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.